The investigation goes on into the mass shooting by Omar Mateen inside Orlando's Pulse nightclub that killed 49 people and wounded 53 other victims.
Since then, violence has skyrocketed. There has been multiple lone wolf attacks across the country, including the latest shooting on Sunday in Baton Rouge, where 3 officers were killed and 3 others were injured, targeted by former U.S. Marine Gavin Long. 2 weeks before that attack, 12 cops were shot in Dallas, Texas, during a peaceful protest. 5 of them died, all shot by one man, sniper Micah Johnson. Like both these men, Omar Mateen was also a lone gunman, and now the FBI is facing tough questions about whether the Orlando nightclub shooting could have been prevented. Alarming claims from several people in the days following the Pulse nightclub shooting, all claiming to have reported Omar Mateen's strange behavior. Robert Abell of Lotus Gunworks in Jensen Beach says Omar Mateen stopped in 5 to 6 weeks before the Orlando massacre, wanting to buy bulk ammunition and body armor. But his employees became suspicious, refused to sell to him, and called the FBI.
Our intuition was correct. And it's very sad that we had him that close. It was that close that law enforcement could have got their hands on him.
Then there was one of Mateen's former co-workers who told us Mateen was very erratic and showed incredible hatred for women and minorities and even threatened a mass shooting.
Because he said, I'm gonna kill a lot of people. This wasn't an innuendo, this was a statement.
Daniel Gilroy, a former Fort Pierce police officer, worked with Mateen in 2014 at PGA Village in Port St. Lucie. He says he reported the threats to his supervisor twice, but nothing was done.
Because I knew. Not time, not location, not date, but I knew this man would do something of this nature eventually.
Anybody will tell you that they cannot know about everybody at any given time, all the time.
Former FBI agent Stuart Kaplan sat down with us to talk about how the FBI handles investigations like these.
There is going to be that unfortunate situation where something or some person may slip through the cracks.
Would you say that's what happened in this case?
Omar Mateen was a United States citizen. And what people have to embrace and understand is that when you are a United States citizen or live here in the United States, there's something called due process. And within that due process right, a person is afforded notice and an opportunity to be heard.
Oh my God.
And the FBI, if in fact comes into contact with information, whether through electronic means or through human intelligence or some other means that someone may be in the planning stage or in preparation of committing a terrorist act, they want to be as discreet as possible because they don't want to tip off people.
Just hours after the shooting, we learned the FBI investigated Omar Mateen 3 times, twice in 2013 after co-workers alerted them that Mateen claimed to have terrorist ties. An investigation revealed no threat or links to terrorism, and the investigation was closed.
If we cannot, as agents, establish probable cause when we're trying to facilitate a full-blown investigation and get that beyond just speculation to probable cause, it in fact creates a roadblock. And if we can't meet that threshold, the investigation, so to speak, will be closed down.
Then in 2014, the FBI uncovered a possible connection between Mateen and Monar Mohammed Abu Salah, the first American suicide bomber in Syria. The 2 men attended the same Fort Pierce mosque, but the FBI again closed the investigation after determining there was little contact between the 2 men.
And that is not something that I believe the FBI had enough information. In fact, I think it proved that they didn't have even a reasonable suspicion to continue an investigation. That's why they closed it out.
Published reports claim Omar Mateen was placed on a terrorist watch list in 2013 and 2014, but was later removed when the FBI closed those investigations.
The terrorist watch list is about 1,800,000 individuals.
Kaplan says most of the people on the terrorist watch list are outside of the U.S. And even if Omar Mateen had been kept on the watch list, it wouldn't have stopped him from buying guns and ammunition.
There is no law presently on the books that prevents someone from purchasing a weapon or purchasing ammunition just because they're on a terrorist watch list or on a no-fly list.
Whether or not Mateen's name appeared on the list years ago is of little consolation to the victims of the Pulse nightclub shooting. He will forever be remembered as the person responsible for the deadliest terrorist attack in the U.S. since the September 11th attacks.
I think it's going to take more of these horrendous acts here domestically to finally get us to wake up and embrace that we're going to have to relent on some of these rights to appreciate and understand that these people are out there.
New documents released just today by the St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office show Omar Mateen claimed he was repeatedly taunted for being Muslim by deputies and others while he was a security guard at the St. Lucie County Courthouse. That is when he reportedly told co-workers he had ties to the Boston Marathon bombing suspects and the Fort Hood shooter, which prompted the FBI investigation in 2013.